Kyle B, you're up next. Hello.
How's it going?
Pretty good, man. Where we get a hand from here? This is at Parks, right? Is this going to be a hand from
Yes.
Parks? Yeah. Michael G told me that he had talked to you on Friday.
Yep.
Was Michael G at the table for this hand?
Not when the hand was played, no.
Okay. So is this the 10-10 game or the 2-5 game or
No,
what?
it's a 2-5 game with a $10 straddle.
2-5-10, but still 1,000 cap, right?
Yes,
Okay.
1K cap. We're 1245 effective.
Okay. 1245 effective. Okay.
And I am under the gun with Ace of Diamonds, Jack of Diamonds.
Ace of Diamonds, Jack of Diamonds. Okay.
And I open to 25.
All right, so 25 at 2-5-10. Kind of small, no? At two, what's the open size here? I mean, I would think going 30, 35.
That's typical. I usually size down just so that I can VPIP with
Get
more hands.
and get a little
But
more stack depth, maybe.
right, exactly.
I mean,
Um,
honestly, it's not a terrible if you're not getting three bet like with sometimes in live poker when you raise smaller, it will induce more of a three betting range. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's like you would want to keep guys who like have a 2 or 3% three betting range. Like that's good for us. But if you start going small and then that the small raise size by you starts to make them three bet 10 or 15%, it's slightly worse. I always say like to raise a little bit larger to get value from hands, but there is something to be said though too about keeping some pot size and things like that. So okay, so you go to 25 or stack to pot ratio. So you go to 25 from under the gun with Ace of Diamonds, Jack of Diamonds. Okay.
Yep, and everybody folds except for the villain in the straddle who calls. He is a younger guy who I have not played with before, but he's been fairly passive and hasn't really gotten out of line at this point.
Okay. So your heads up.
Heads up, the
Okay.
flop is 10 of clubs, 8 of diamonds, 4 of hearts.
10 of clubs, 8 of diamonds, 4 of hearts.
Yep.
Okay.
So he checks to me. I continue for 35, and he calls.
Yeah, I like that C bet here. I mean, you've got some backdoor things going on here with obviously, it's a rainbow board, Ace of Diamonds, Jack of Diamonds, so you can pick up some backdoor straight draws. Obviously, backdoor flush draw. One of the other things, though, too, like I said, one of the cornerstones CLP content reference to Crush Live Poker is the Bet Bluffing Matrix. I'm not sure, Brock, if you are a website sub or not, but I kind of came up with these factors of when you bet bluff as the preflop raiser, and the matrix is like taking those factors and then sort of combining it with your image in trying to figure out whether or not you are going to image of winning or losing, by the way, whether or
Right.
not you're going to bet bluff in a given situation. One of those variables, one of those factors is position or configuration. And I think that on a non-connecting board where there shouldn't be really two pair, I mean, I guess you could have like 10-8, but two pair or straight, you just have a tighter range here as opposed to like if you were opening on the button. Like I think you can just credibly like represent a tighter range in this particular configuration. So when your sort of perceived range is stronger, I think it's better to bet bluff here. So you go 35 at call, and now we're at 120. Okay.
Yep. So the turn card is a good one. It's the Jack of clubs.
And again, I am running a contest where I'm giving away 2 free 5% pieces of my action. On the Thirsty Thursday game next week on September 14th, I'm going out to LA to play on that game and then commentating on the 15th. All you have to do is click on the link in the description. Good luck to everyone that enters, and we will announce the winners the day before on Wednesday, probably in the community post area of our YouTube. Okay.
So he starts with a check, and I size up to 100.
I don't know if I'm going to be betting this card a ton here. I mean, here's the thing. So in live poker, when you're up against a particular guy that's just going to bet here is when I would bet, and here's when I would check, because I'll take that back. I don't know what this guy, you said he was an unknown. I don't know the typical players went 2-5, but the best types of villains to be playing are like loose passive villains, right? That are going to call with a lot of hands that are draws and really are only going to raise you when like one pair is no good. So if you're up against somebody like that, where like they're never going to like take 9x with a club draw and raise you, or pair plus 9 and raise you because like they have more hands than you do because they're in the straddle, and by the way they have a lot of hands in the straddle, then you could bet here and bet fold because you can't really improve, right? So if your plan was to bet fold, that's fine. And if you think that you're going to still get called by some 10x hands, that's fine too, because you might be barreling like ace queen, ace king, right? King queen, things like that. So, but it's not always a bet, and sometimes, definitely against tougher players, you do have to have consideration for the amount of hands that they can have, the ability for them to be able to make semi bluffs on this card. So that's sort of my take here.
I guess just considering his image, how I perceived him as not being overly aggressive, and with the backdoor draw coming in and me not having a club in my hand, I wanted to charge close to the max and get value from maybe if he has a hand like Jack 9 or Queen Jack, something like that.
Yeah, and your 100 actually also too, like the more I think about this, I actually think that this is why sometimes I use, back in the day, I would say like Queen Jack suited is like my favorite hand in No Limit. And the reason why I would say that is because you get credit when turn cards are ace or king, and you don't get credit when you make top pair in the form of a jack or queen, but specifically in a jack. The reason why that's good is because it allows you to double barrel bluff on those key cards, and then you continue to get called when you turn like a jack and sometimes a queen. Here with ace jack, it's kind of a similar type of thing where it looks like you might be double barreling ace king, ace queen, and king queen. So I would be very surprised here if 10x just folded out now. Now you're going to get like 8x to fold out, like 7, 8 and stuff like this is going to fold out, right? But specifically 10x is probably going to have to call down here, especially sort of people, familiar with the newer school thought of, he can be barreling again here, right? Different than if it was an ace, right? Different than if it was an ace, where with an ace, like you're not going to get called down as much because it's just like the ultimate card for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So you go 100, okay.
So this is where it gets interesting. He clicks it to 235.
Oh, another one of these ones. Wow. So straddle to 235. I don't know if you caught the first hand or the second hand or whatever it was. I mean, this is even more egregious because it's so small. So it's 220. So it's 455, 135 for you to call. But like, what hand is doing that? I mean, again, the properties of your hand, there's really no way that you can improve, with the exception of like if he has 2 pair and you making a better 2 pair. Like if he turned Jack 10 here, like you could improve if an ace came, right? Very little equity. I would be very surprised if 10-8 was playing this in this manner. And usually like, something that turned something like Queen 9 of clubs, right? You would think that would raise. He wouldn't want to just sort of dink and dunk through a check raise unless people are onto this and they're looking at this sort of like max fold equity. So you're saying if he just made it 325, it's like an insta fold for you?
I would think so, yeah. But at this point, I'm getting like almost 4-1. So even though I feel like I could potentially be beat, I don't think I can give up just yet. So I do end up making the call.
I mean, against a min raise, I to be honest with you, maybe I would probably do the same thing in real time, but I don't really like it here. And so let me ask you this question, because I went over it with the other caller too. So the reason why you're continuing on is because you're getting such a great price, right? Like you've got the information that you're getting such a great price, and you made it like a rate, you made it like a little click up raise. So all right, so you're gonna call here. And the pot's going to be, you put in 470 on the turn. So the pot's going to be, just under like 600, right? So let me ask you this question. Let's say that the river is just like an absolute brick. So the pot's like 590 here, and you guys have like 900 left. Let's say the river is like an offsuit deuce. Okay, so it's just a brick, and let's say he makes like a pot size bet or a 1.5x pot bet at the end. People will say, oh, if you called the turn, like you have to call the river because nothing changed. And I think in this particular case, I would make the case where you actually might be able to fold the river, because the only reason why we're calling the turn is because it was so small. The caller said that he would have probably folded to 3x. So my question to you, caller, is that if it's a brick and you face large sizing, what was going to be your determination?
The plan in that instance is just to fold out.
Really? Even on a brick?
Even on a brick river, my initial thought process, I don't think that he's making this min-click raise with a hand like a set or even a flush draw, because he's not giving himself any fold equity. So it feels like very value-heavy check raise to me.
Right.
But I want to see the river just with the price that I'm getting and get some more information.
So you kind of you are kind of playing a little bit of Fifth Street chicken. Like I said, I like to do that from out of position more so than in position, but this is more of a culmination of you're getting such a good price. There is a slight chance that you could improve if you're beat now, but you also can see what he does at the end. But if he makes a big bet, even on a brick, you are prepared to fold out. A couple of people are also screaming in the live chat, the straddle has a lot of hands. Yes, the straddle definitely has a lot of hands, but I think I would agree with Kyle that even though the straddle has a lot of hands, this line for this sizing is usually pretty nutted in the sense that it's not, it would be more likely that you would have value, I think, with this sizing than with a semi bluff. But Kyle's getting such a good price that he's going to continue on. Okay, so 590 to the river. So
the river is the 4 of clubs. So the bottom card pairs and the backdoor flush comes in.
10 of clubs, 8 of diamonds, 4 of hearts, jack of clubs, 4 of clubs. So the board pairs, the backdoor flush comes in. The only thing that this changes for you of a hand that you might have been ahead of, which I think we probably think are unlikely, is 10-8, right? Like a min check raise with 10-8 on the turn. You're still losing to jack 10, right? You're still losing to jack 10. Okay.
And I don't think he has either of those hands for that side.
And jack 8, by the way, too, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I just don't think he's ever going to have those hands when he raises so small with all the draws on the turn. So I'm really discounting those.
Well, that's interesting because I didn't know what you were going to do, because I was going to say, like, I thought maybe he bet or he checked you and you were thinking about turning your hand into a bluff, and I was saying, well, maybe you get him off a jack 10 or jack 8, but if you're saying you don't think he has those hands, then that's another thing too. So what happens here now?
So he ends up betting 275.
So small line bets 275, which is probably not going to happen from jack 10, jack 8 either, right? Now that the board pairs, because I lose to overcard. So I guess you're thinking about what, can you turn your hand into a bluff to get him off of 7-9, queen 9, something like that?
Yeah, I really feel like
you're never going to call here, right?
No, I don't think calling is ever the right decision.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've seen this more at the lower stakes, like 1-2, 1-3, when they make this really small check raise that it's the nuts or the near nuts. And you really don't see that often in 2-5. But like I said, I don't think he has a set as played when he check raises a turn for such a small size. And I don't think he has a flush draw because he's not driving any sort of fold equity.
Well, I will say that small sizing with queen 9, 7-9 though is, I see more of that. I've seen this in the past where it's the mega nuts. And what I mean by the mega nuts is that he has those hands with the flush draw.
The clubs.
Yeah. So, I mean, my sort of gut reaction here is that you're hoping that he has 7-9 or queen 9. And if you're thinking of making a move, you're hoping that he folds. And the fact that I don't know if a guy's going to fold that, coupled with the fact that he could have those hands with clubs, kind of makes me just want to fold here as opposed to go crazy which maybe is what you were thinking about doing. Let me do some pot odds here. So he goes 275. So you guys had you had about 900 left in your you had 900 moving the river. So he goes 275. If you shove here, it's so 275 into 590 is what, like 865. If you were to shove, it would be what, 1765 and like 500 for him to call. 1765, maybe a little more.
What I have it as is about we have 950 effective going to the river.
So if you shove, what are the pot odds that he would get?
675 to win. 50 plus 600.
865 plus 950 total would be what, 1915, like 675 to call. I think that sounds about right. So he's going to be getting like 3-1. So it's not like you're so deep, right? Like you're only really shoving for another like 675 on top, right? After he bets 275. So that's the other concerning thing to me. I think I just give this one up here because of the stack sizes though too.
Yeah.
What did you do?
Get on board.
What'd you do?
I do end up turning my hand into a bluff and going all in for 950. And before I give the reveal, I want to ask if I'm misapplying this concept, but he bet 275 on the river, which is only $40 more than his check raise on the turn. Would you consider that like a same bet type bet?
No, I don't usually do. That's another CLP thing. Same bet is usually, I don't usually think of rivers as same bets. I think of, and also too, it's nut changing. Like the card drastically changes the nuts. Same bet is another old CLP concept where somebody check raises you like on 10-8-4, right? You see bet, somebody like min check raises you. Say you've got like kings and you check raise and you bet 35 and he goes to like 75, right? Or 75 or 80. Or no, say like you bet 35 and he goes to like 100, okay? And you call and now the turn's a deuce. And then he goes 100 again on the turn, especially on a non-nut changing card. That's same bet. This is different because the nuts change at the end.
Okay, that makes sense.
So you shove in, what happens?
So he snap folds 9-7 offsuit face up. He did not have a club in his hand.
Well, so straddle. He snap folded 9-7 off. Wow.
He didn't even think about it. But what you're saying makes sense. Like the price he's getting is so good. Like I can definitely get on board with this being way too ambitious. But just coupled with the fact that based on his check raise on the turn, I never thought he had, full draw or set. Like you said, he can certainly have like queen 9 of clubs, 9-7 of clubs.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
combos.
How often do you play this game? Are you a regular at 2-5 at Parks?
Yes.
So I was going to ask Michael G this and he was going to put in the live chat, but I can ask you too. Like, are you expecting an average player? Well, if you're a regular and the guy's unknown, then he's not a regular, right? Because I was going to say, like, are you expecting an average 2-5 player to lay down a straight there at the end, getting that price?
I think the games at Parks in particular play a little bit nittier than what you might find in like a Texas or California. So, like, it goes back to the low stakes. Like, if someone is raising the river more often than not, they're just going to have it. And against an unknown player, I'm kind of banking on them knowing that.
People are saying that Kyle is a nitty. Oh, Michael G is saying that Kyle is a nitty player. So maybe your reputation precedes you, Kyle.
Oh, yeah, I definitely have a very tight image.
But again, this guy doesn't know you. So this might work against a regular that knows your image, right?
Right.
Yeah. Kyle, thanks for the call. I appreciate it. Good call.